right. So let's talk about long distance relationships. All right. So with long distance relationships don't fail because of the distance. Okay. Even though it is very difficult, they don't fail because of the distance. They fail because one or usually both people become very emotionally weak. And so today I'm going to be talking about that. And if you're new here, my name is Mitchell. And in today's live video, I'll be talking about how to have a successful long distance relationship in 2026. Happy New Year's to everybody that's joining in. So let's get started. Now, number one, you want to make sure that you both share the same mission, okay? Not just feelings. So it's very important. You want to share missions, not just the feelings that you guys have. Now, most long distance relationships starts with a lot of chemistry. It starts with a lot of excitement, and it starts with a lot of good intentions. What I would call it honeymoon phase. Okay, but feelings is not a plan. You just have to realize that feelings are not plans. You have to have something a little bit more concrete, something that has a vision for further down the line. Now, usually with distance usually just amplifies more uncertainty when there's no clear direction. Okay, when you have a clear direction, you could be a little impatient, but at least you have an idea of what's going on and where you want to be. But like I said, with distance usually amplifying uncertainty, it's usually because there's no clear direction in mind. Okay, and usually what happens from there is that a lot of fear starts to fill in the gap in between that distance that you guys have. So think of it like, well, where is this going? Are we wasting time together? What if someone else better shows up? And so these are all a lot of these questions that pops into most people's mind. Why? Because usually they don't have a clear direction, or maybe they're insecure and they don't know exactly what they want, and they're very uncertain. And so a shared mission, hopefully you guys have that, a shared mission stabilizes the relationship. That mission answers three important things. Number one, why the distance exists. So is it because of a career? Is it because of family? Is it because of like certain timing? Is it for your own growth? Whatever it may be. Or did you just meet each other online? Hello. Or number two, how the distance eventually will end. So that's very important. Who is going to close that gap? Who is going to close that gap? And number three, who is taking the responsibility for closing that gap? Now, in my experience, it is always the man that takes the lead in that relationship. And a lot of women might not agree with this, but it's always better if it's her choice to come to you, assuming that you're the man and you're the masculine figure and you have an idea of where it will go when she comes. And the only reason why a man should ever move, okay, is when you have something better, not just the relationship, but something better for your own sake, for your own growth, whether it's a career shift or whatever it may be. It should be aligned with your goals and your mission and your values and your purpose in life. Otherwise, moving sounds like a horrible idea. I've seen so many instances where a guy would liquidate their house, sell everything, and now all of a sudden, once they get there, she leaves him. And it's like, well, what is he gonna do then? He's stuck. He just sold everything, all for this woman, and then now he doesn't really have much of a plan because his plan was trying to close the gap, be too relationship focused. So very important. Now, if you don't have the shared mission, the relationship will slowly fall apart. And usually it falls into this type of emotional maintenance. It gets very stabilized. It doesn't really move. It stays stagnant. Okay. And you're going to have a lot of constant check-ins, a lot of reassurance, asking things like, well, what's going on? Or Even worse, it's what's we'll see what happens. We'll just see what happens with this relationship. And so it's so important to make sure that you guys have shared missions, and you want to make sure you have a goal in mind. Most importantly, I want you guys to ask yourself, who is going to close that gap? Okay? Successful long distance couples treat the distance as temporary and purposeful, not a permanent and not something very permanent. All right? So, number 2, independence is what keeps attraction alive. So, AKA having your own life. Long distance relationship doesn't create neediness. It usually just exposes it. So, when one person stops building their life, and starts orbiting around their relationship, most of the time, 99% of the time, attraction begins to fade. Where if you're like just sitting there waiting by the phone, rearranging your schedules so that you can have that call with that person, or basically, or worse, sacrificing your own identity for love so that you hope that you guys have a deeper connection. That doesn't happen. It usually just creates more pressure. So this is why having similar goals and similar values, especially in a long distance relationship, is crucial. Okay? Now, it will reduce the friction in the relationship, and you will have an even healthier way of communicating with each other. Now, the distance actually rewards people who are grounded. Okay, I'm gonna say that one more time. Distance actually rewards people who are grounded and busy with their lives, meaningful lives. So when both parties, or when both partners, they stay disciplined with fitness, their work, their goals, their careers, and they maintain friendships and their social circles on the side, they don't rely on the relationship for validation. Time together, when you guys spend time together, it feels a lot more exciting. It feels a little bit more earned. It doesn't feel heavy, and it doesn't feel needy. And the funny thing is, the less you cling, the safer and more stable the relationship becomes. Now, long distance relationships don't fail because people are too far apart. They fail because they're not grounded enough. Now, number 3, communication quality matters way more than frequency. One of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make, or a lot of couples make in long distance relationship, is thinking that, look, if we just spend more time together, if we just talked more, if we just slept on the phone, leaving the phone on and just falling asleep, that everything will feel more secure. Like, that's the opposite. Okay, that is the opposite. Do not do that. It's not about frequency, it's more about the quality. So in reality though, over communication destroys polarity in relationships. Texting all day, what ends up happening when you text all day is you remove a lot of mystery. It creates a lot of boredom. It turns communication that you guys have with each other, and it feels more like an obligation. And just like you wouldn't want someone that needs to say, for example, oh, I need someone that calls me every single night, especially if you're in a long distance relationship. I need someone to call me every night to tell me good night and that they care about me. Relationships should not feel like an obligation. It should feel free. It should not feel heavy. And so when you have someone like that, what ends up happening is you train them to be more anxious. You're training anxiety instead of trust. Now, with successful couples, what they do is they communicate with structure and they communicate with intention, not through emotional impulses. So using texting as logistics and, somewhat like connections. You're not spending your whole entire day on a phone texting each other, or you're not spending the entire day talking on a phone with each other. Okay. And then if you guys are too far apart to see each other, what you guys can do is set up FaceTime dates. You want to set up FaceTime dates where you sit down and you're not interrupted. You don't have notifications going on, and you spend that time together. I found that to be very, very helpful. And so thing is, you don't want to use communication to monitor or to cope with your insecurities. If you think about it like this, silence in between, it's not neglect. It's a space for life to happen. When you have that silence, after that time of silence with each other, that time apart, because you have your own life going on, once you reconnect again, your conversation has a lot more energy. It feels more flowing, and then you get to talk about how your day was, and then they will get to talk about how their day was, and then it's just more lively. There's more energy involved. It just doesn't feel like, damn, I got to be on the phone again because she needs to be on the phone or he needs to be on the phone so that they can feel love. It's like, that's bullshit. That doesn't create attraction. It actually destroys it. So distance does not require constant contact, okay? It requires more emotional regulation. And as a man, you should always control your impulses. And lastly, what I want to talk about is trust, okay? Because I know how difficult it is in long distance relationships that trust, especially if you're feeling a little insecure yourself, trust is going to feel like climbing a mountain. So when you do have this trust, or you want to build this trust, you want to build it through consistency, not through monitoring or having surveillance. Let's see, I will subscribe and like. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So the last thing I want to talk about is that trust. Now, you can't watch someone into loyalty. It just doesn't happen. A lot of long distance relationship fail because trust is replaced with control. Okay, so example is location sharing, interrogations where it's being disguised as, well, I'm just being concerned, like I'm just worried about you, like share me your location because I'm concerned, but in reality they just need to know where you're at so that you're not doing anything fishy, right? See in Spanish means yes I do. That's like the only thing I do know, and a few more other words, but I appreciate it. Thank you. So a lot of people, when they do things like that, they're operating from a place of fear rather than a place of strength. Now, if you are sharing location, it's like, no, like share me your location if you're going out so that I know that you will be okay when you go back home later. That's fine. That's understandable because you're worried about that person. You want that person to be safe. That's coming from a place of strength. But if coming from a place of fear, that's usually like, well, I don't know where you're going. I don't know who you're going to be hanging out with. And if you tell me you're going to be home by 10 and I see that you're not home by 10, I will automatically assume that you're doing something suspicious. It's like, so that's really coming from a place of fear, and that does not generate trust. It feels more like control. Your relationship will feel like it has a lot of pressure. It doesn't feel light, and it definitely does not feel loving. And so I want you guys to remember this. Most importantly is real trust comes from patterns, not promises. So you could always bottom line someone's action. Successful long distance couples build trust by doing these three things: doing what they say they'll do, showing up emotionally stable, so you're not emotionally erratic, you're not all over the place, you're not bouncing off the walls because you don't know how to control your emotions, and you're not overreacting through fear. So if you're in this place and you're having this long distance relationship with someone that you care about, just remember that trust does not mean constant monitoring. You don't want to constantly monitor where this person is. And if you really feel like you already have to do that in a relationship, your relationship is already unstable. Distance just exposes it faster. And remember, distance does not create betrayal. It reveals more of that character from that person. And character is destiny. And just like the saying of what makes music beautiful, it's the space in between the notes. That's what makes music beautiful. Otherwise, if you don't have that space, that time and distance from each other, it would just be noise. And so remember, if you want to have a successful long distance relationship, or just a relationship in general, you have to learn how to create this type of harmony in this relationship by not leaning too much into your impulses. Instead, create music through time, through distance. That's what creates a healthy tension, and it does not create pressure. Now, there's a huge difference between tension and pressure. I talked about it in my last live video. And so if you guys are interested in that, you guys could go back, click on that video. You could say whatever you want. Just don't be crazy. Is it Braylon? Are you currently in a long distance relationship? Now, anyways, let's go back to what I was saying. So you want to create this music, this harmony with each other, so that you guys could have a happy and healthy relationship. Now, in my past, especially in long distance relationships, I didn't know how to operate. I didn't really have a life going on for myself. I thought I did, but I just moved and did things. It wasn't really purposeful. I didn't have a mission in mind. Bliss. Your hair. I just shaved it. What's up, Bree? I got tired of it. I was like, this ain't working for me. So going back, long distance relationship in the past, I didn't really have much of a mission. I didn't really have much of a purpose. And I didn't understand what it took to understand relationships. And on top of that, I didn't know how to operate as a guy, as a masculine dude. And more often than not, I was doing more things that ruined that sexual polarity. And so what do you think happened? They will leave. They will find excuses. They will say things like, this isn't gonna work, or I need space. Now, that has not happened for a very, very long time. No, I did not. And so it takes time. It takes a lot of effort to understand relationships. Like I said, though, people are people. We make mistakes, and we're not perfect all the time. What you can do is do your very best to make as little mistake as possible while still learning and becoming better. Okay, that's the joy of life, especially for me. I always find that even through the last few years, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot more about relationships too. And I'm going to continue to grow. It's the process of learning. And so for me, I want to be able to understand it even more so I could share. Can I ask how old I am? I don't understand that question. You mean I am? Anyways, so create harmony in your relationship. Okay, so think about music. Think about, if I want to make the best music, the best song for this person, okay, aka having the best relationship that I could possibly have, how am I going to learn to control myself emotionally? By giving that person time and space so that they can miss me, to wonder about me, to think about me a little bit more. And then on top of that, having your own life on the side that is meaningful, that's purposeful. But then you always come back to that. Like, to me, that is peace, that is freedom, and you're allowing them to come and go as they please. Now, obviously, there's boundaries with that, but just making sure that you have that in line for yourself and you give the freedom to the other person. Why would they ever want to choose anybody else but you? Because most people don't know how to control their impulses. They most of the time they overreact. And I get it. Humans are very emotionally based creatures. And so when you learn just to control that, your life will be so much better. I don't know how to explain it. Your life will be so much better if you just learn how to control your emotions a little bit more. All right. Now, well, all this being said, and you want to create music and harmony with each other, okay? This doesn't mean that you neglect or play games, okay? You don't do that. I do not teach guys or people in general. I don't teach them to ignore other people. And now I understand that most people they need time, they need space, they need a break from each other, especially if there was like say an argument or whatever, right? But you don't ignore that person. Eventually you need to get back to that, okay? So don't play games. You don't neglect that person. It means that you're staying focused on your main goals. Now, if your goal is to have a good, successful, long-term, long-distance relationship, what I would suggest is that you want to focus on not texting as much, okay? Having a life of your own, not constantly checking in, okay? It's more about having this clarity. It's more about having this independence, that discipline, and also that trust that you guys have. So where it's very important to have a shared mission and a purpose, you want to make sure you don't lose yourself in that relationship too, where you keep your identity, your identity to be purposeful for your own life. And so if you guys did find this video content useful, hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already. I know it's a lot, but yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next live. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. All right, peace.